All right. Well, welcome, guys, to our Monday night webinar. My name, of course, is John Adams, co-founder of Foreign Affair, and I am joined, surprisingly enough, by Officer Joe here, who just returned from the Ukraine, what, like a day ago?
1 day ago, exactly.
So you've got to have, he's like, yeah, 1 day, you've got to have jet lag. I mean, you've got to be jet lagging a little bit.
If I pass out while I'm doing this,
there's no passing out, Joe. No passing
that.
out. I asked Joe to come in because he just got back from the tour that we've completed, and you did a 4-city tour, right?
4-city tour, that's right.
So 2 individual, 2-city tours.
Right.
Some guys combined it, did all 4 with you, right?
Yeah, we had a few guys who did that.
The brave guys. I actually talked to one today. I'll tell you about that in a little bit here. But so Joe's going to share a little bit of his experiences on the past tour with us. And if you have questions, this is the time to ask them, guys, and get in early because we've been inundated with questions here lately, and it's hard to get to all of them. So the sooner you get your question on the screen, I try to take them in order, and we'll try to get your questions answered. Anything having to do with international introductions. This is our general night, not just to Ukraine. We're open to Latin America. We got a tour going out this week, by the way, to wonderful sunny Cartagena, Colombia. So if you can, and there is still time to jump on that tour if you would like. It's a great tour. So we can talk about all things Latin. We can go into Asia. Then, of course, we will be talking about Eastern Europe with the Ukrainian tour because Joe just got done doing another fabulous job as a tour leader. I was already told by a few of the guys. I don't know how much money you pay those guys to tell me that, but can't be much since, yeah, it's all money, yeah. I also want to throw out a quick reminder to all of you out there that we will be in San Antonio on Saturday and in Houston on Sunday with our seminars. The seminars are a wonderful opportunity, guys, to get a sense of what this is really all about. You know, Joe and I can stay up here all day and talk about this and still not really convey very well what this is about. And when you come to the seminars, we'll be there for 4 or 5 hours talking about it, and you still really won't have the total sense until you go and do it. But it gives you a much better idea, right?
That is so true. That is so true. And if you've been, yeah, I just still, I say this all the time, you know, guys who have been contemplating going for 1 year, 2 years, some longer
10
than
years,
that.
15 years, yeah.
I really don't understand it.
I know, I've never understood either, but we have a lot of guys that do that, and it's kind of a shame. So we would love to see you guys not waste another 5, 10, 15 years of saying, there's Joe, there you are, look at you, look at me. See, I lost my luggage, but I just want a disclaimer, I lost my luggage in that tour, and I was right there, so I looked really out of place. Joe looked so dapper, but he had his luggage.
Right.
Lost luggage, luggage. I always look, so you look so much better than I do there.
Well, it's because I fly a better airline.
Ah, well, there you go. Of course, on my dime, yes. No.
On your dime,
Yes.
exactly.
No, just kidding. So, guys, any questions you have, please feel free to jump right in, and we'll be happy to take your questions. But if you can hit those seminars this weekend, if anywhere near Texas, even if you have to come in from Oklahoma, Louisiana, or wherever it is, come, it's worth it. You're going to get some great seminar-only discounts and some wonderful information. And there's going to be a couple in Houston who met and were just married here recently. And they met on our Filipino tour, and they're going to come in and share. She is now pregnant, and they're waiting for their first child. And they were on the Wednesday night call with us with Rana. We actually called them, and they were talking. And they're in Houston. They want to come in and just share. And that's what's really cool about a lot of our tours and things like this is that every seminar I do, we always get guys, we don't ask, but they just come. They want to be part of the community because we do build a community. And I was just talking to one of your guys, I forget his name now, but he did a dual tour with you. He's a psychologist, actually.
Rick.
Rick.
Yes.
And, you know, Rick was saying that, you know, John, this really helped me get over a few things that I was going through, but I'll tell you, being around the other guys was really important to me, and being at breakfast, talking about the good, the bad, the ugly, all this good stuff. I mean, and you have that support group. You have this built-in support group during the tour. Talk a little bit about that, Joe, because it's an amazing thing.
And that's the one thing I think a lot of people miss. You know, that we talk about the girls, we talk about, you know, this is a vacation, but we talk very little about, you know, the guys that you meet on these tours. I I've made so many friends over the years. I still talk to the guys from years past. I mean, we're really close friends. I've been invited to many weddings.
I know,
as
he
you
gets invited to weddings all the time. Me,
Yeah.
not so much, for some reason, but you get invited all the time. It's great.
Well, it's because
Australia.
they like me better.
They do, yeah, I guess. We're gonna have a popularity contest. We're gonna have like a voting one of these days. Hands up, hand for Joe. No, just kidding. But it is kind of really neat that you make the friends, and I know you do because I see it. You tell me about it, you know, and you stay in touch with these guys because when you're on the tour, you're going through what they're going through, and you're helping them go through it. You're giving them your advice, and then you bond with those people. This isn't like, you know, I don't know, selling someone a car or some of the other service industries. I mean, this is really personal, and it gets down and dirty, and you're really learning about the people. And it's I love it. I think it's great. I want to, before we get into the questions, we're starting to get questions, guys, so please keep bringing in your questions. We're going to start getting the questions here in just a little bit, but keep putting them in there so you're in the queue, so we have them. I want to be able to answer everyone's questions here tonight, but I want to talk to Joe a little bit about these tours. So, Joe, you did two city tours, right?
Started off in Dnipro.
Right.
Dnipro and Zaporozhye were the first two.
Now, we only go there about once a year.
Yeah, well, last year you didn't go to Zaporozhye.
And we didn't even go to Zaporozhye
Yeah,
last
which
year.
is-
Went to
yes.
Dnipro, but not Zap. And this year we did that tour just on its own, Dnipro and Zap. So what do you think? I know you were a big fan of it. Are you still a big fan of that one?
I'm still a big fan. I think what kind of lowered the numbers a little bit was that it was election time.
Okay.
Yeah, we had the big election.
You had the big election.
Big election over there. In fact, they had the last debate right next to our hotel. You want to talk about police and military and security?
Oh my gosh.
Yes, they had so many streets blocked off, and also it was they were preparing for Easter over there.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
But you
but
still
we
had really good turnout.
We still had a really good turnout.
I mean, it's still like, what, 8 to 9 ratio, I think, or somewhere close to that?
Yeah, we
Probably at least 7 to 1, I would say.
yeah, we had about 180, I believe, in Dnipro and about 160 something in Zapo. So it's still almost that 10 to 1.
Yeah, yeah. So that's great. That's a very.
I know.
Yeah, it's funny how we get, because we're used to the 400
only
numbers.
180
right.
girls.
But of course, you know, it was a little bit less with the men too, because that is a little bit of an off the beaten track tour. But I'll tell you
was.
guys, I think that's the ones that you really want to look at. I love
so
those
much
tours.
so.
I think it's great.
Yes,
Yeah.
and a lot of the guys were actually saying that who have done the big city tours,
Right.
you know, and many guys who have done the 3 city tours, they actually commented on how much they enjoyed the 2 city tour better.
The 2 city tour, I think, look, there's pros and cons to the 2 cities and the 3 cities. I get that. You know, you have to have a lot of stamina and, you know, just be energy and be well rested to be able to handle those 3 cities, because you're meeting so many
Yes.
different women. And you're traveling a little bit, not too bad. Usually it's only a few hours of travel in between the cities. But just the sheer number of women you're meeting, to be able to take that all in, to sort it in your mind, to
Kind of a speed
prioritize
dating
it.
in itself.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So NetZap went well. And
NetZap went well. The weather didn't cooperate with us too much in Zap, which was a kind of a shame.
it did rain, I heard, pretty hard. didn't it?
Yes, it was raining pretty good. Yeah, there was 2 solid days I never even left the hotel. But guys were still going on the dates.
Yeah, well, you know it's going to happen. You're going to get rain, but they're used to rain over there. Now, if it rained here in Phoenix for that, that could really cause some problems. But over there, they get rain all the time, so it's not a big deal.
Right.
Then you and some of the guys, finished their tour in Nep, and then others actually went with you over to Kiev
That's right.
to
Yeah.
join the Kiev Harkov tour.
There was a few guys and myself. We ventured up to Kyiv, started the tour there. Then where I met the other group, little bit bigger group, and there was a good bunch of guys. A lot of the guys on that tour, we went out quite a few times, because
I think I called you and you were out singing karaoke.
everybody wanted to go, so we including one of the executive clients. He wanted to go too.
I think we had about 3 executive clients on
Yeah.
that tour. So for those of you that don't know, the executive service is kind of like a very personalized matchmaking service that we do. And you work with us for several months before you're really ready to go over, and we help identify the perfect candidates for you, no matter where they live in the world. And then we help build those relationships before you go over. But you do have the choice as an executive client to go over during the time a group tour is going on and just attend some of the events like the socials. And so we had a few over there at that time that were doing that. And they mingled right in with everybody else, right? And no problems.
Yeah, it was
Good.
it was great.
All right.
So then, of course, from Kyiv, Kyiv went well. Kyiv always goes well. And then we went over to Kharkov, which was really nice to see. I haven't been to Kharkov in over 2 years, so.
Has it been that long since you've been to Kharkov?
Yes, it's been.
Did you get like banned for a while, or what was the problem?
Well, the ban has been lifted. They have a new mayor, so he.
They let you back into the city?
No, it's just the way that rotation goes, and
Okay.
I
I didn't realize you hadn't been there in so long
I
because
haven't
you do
been
so
there.
many of the tours. I'm surprised. Okay.
Yeah.
And I talked to some of the guys because we like to call the gentlemen when they get back and welcome them back and all that good stuff and see how the tour went and see how they're progressing with the women they met. And we were making some calls today and we found that a lot of the men are still in
Kharkov.
Kharkov.
Yes.
Yeah, and they're telling us, this was great. Kharkov's great, John. I'm not back yet. And I'm like, one gentleman I talked to, he's like, it was going so well. I just extended my stay. I didn't want to come home. And so he's there for like another week and he's hanging out in Kharkov.
James.
So I think it was James, yeah.
Yeah,
and so
James.
we talked, but there were several that we talked to that were still there. And that
David-
happens, guys, all the time.
Funniest one is Dave Mason. He's from Australia, so you can imagine. Those Australians are crazy.
We love
In
the
a good way.
Australians.
In a
Yes.
great way. Hey, I lived in Australia. I loved it.
That's true. He can say that. He lived there.
And Dave met this 51-year-old who I've seen before in Kharkov. And you want to talk about a woman who was looking to take care of their guy. He even came, mate, I'm not used to this, to women getting up and getting me another drink and everything. It's fantastic. So he stayed.
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah, well, everyone I talked to had wonderful things to say about you and the staff, Anna and Victoria and Helen and all the staff that was helping, and the wonderful staff in NEP and ZAP as well. So they mentioned a lot of different names, and then if I'm forgetting someone, because I know our staff watches this show, they stay up really late to watch it, right? Yeah. But they are. And so hopefully I'm not forgetting anybody, but yeah, I got really great feedback about you guys and how you supported and helped them try to get everything done. So it was great. All right, we're going to take a few questions here, and then we'll get more into some of the stuff that happened during the tour. That's still going on, actually, while Joe's here. And that's another really nice thing, too, by the way, is that those guys are still there. You're here, but our staff is over there supporting them, right? So it's not like they were abandoned or left alone. Even if they stay past the termination time of the tour, they still get support and help from us because we're there full time. No matter where there is, we always have a presence and we're always there to help. So if you get there early or you want to stay for a week or so after the tour ends, you're still going to get support from a foreign affair because we're there.
That's
and
exactly
that really
right.
helps a lot. All right, Mick wants to know, hi and thanks, why are there no tours to Mexico? And also, will you be offering a tour for Miss Columbia this year in November 2019, which I do believe we are doing so for Miss Columbia this year in November. And as far as Mexico, I would like to get tours going to Mexico, and the problems with that is that there's just not quite enough profiles there yet, still, even though we're working on it. So it usually takes us from the time that we really start with a region to the time that we're ready to do a tour there. It could be 3-4 years easily by the time we really build up enough to make that happen. Our tours, they look seamless, they look so easy, but there's so much that goes on behind the scenes, as you know, and it's just not easy to make that all happen, and you need a lot of participation, profiles, all that, and so it takes a lot more than what you think to make one of these things successful. All right. John, how are the Philippine socials structured? I'll take this since I don't think you've done the Philippine socials and you're falling asleep on me because you have jet lag, so I'll take this for a second.
I just yawned, that's all. No, I haven't been to the Philippines.
But the Philippine socials are different than what you just experienced, Joe, in Eastern Europe, in that they're more, I guess I'd like to say, structured. They're more reserved. It's kind of more like a speed dating situation where the women are all assigned seats at the table. And then you have the two spaces available for you and your buddy, as we call it in the Philippines. Really not a translator, more like a matchmaker buddy, because everyone speaks English in the Philippines, so you don't need a translator. Unlike now, what do you say as you went to Nep and Zap, and then you went to Kharkov and Kiev? Of all those cities, where did you find the most English-speaking women?
Believe it or not, I would say Zappel.
Was it really?
Yes.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, I was actually very surprised too. A lot of and Dnipro as well. A lot of women spoke English, and and I don't know why, because you don't find too many foreigners there.
No,
For starters, you would think Kyiv would have more.
you would think.
Kharkov
That's very
also
interesting.
had quite a few.
Okay, Kharkov had quite a few too. Okay, so it's very much it's going to be more just more formal, right? Before the social starts in the Philippines, they say a prayer. There's an invocation. There's a very nice buffet set up, but the women don't go there until they're told to go there, and then they go in line and they sit down, because that's the way the culture is. And then, unlike Eastern Europe, where you have the buffet and there is a mad rush.
And
So the food goes, you count your fingers.
You want to be away from that table.
But in their defense, there's a lot more women normally at the socials there, because the socials are just larger in the Ukraine, men and women. And it's a little more free flow environment, because if you have 400 plus women and 40, 50 guys running around, it's hard to do the very structured formal speed dating type stuff.
Right. Yeah, it is.
So we
tried in Nikolai.
we do. And when we get mixed results, I think that it works. Some guys like that, some guys don't, right?
Yeah.
No matter what you do, you're not going to please everybody. Some guys would prefer the speed dating, more structured approach, and others would prefer the little more free flow approach. So we try to mix it up and give you a little bit of both. But even in Eastern Europe, you do have one person, this translator / matchmaker, who is assigned to you, and that person stays.
Exactly. That's right. Yeah.
And I understood that, look, just like the women you're trying to meet, it could be that you don't have the right chemistry with the matchmaker assigned to you. And I understand that happened with you.
Hey,
Not with
yeah.
you, but with one of the clients where we
It
had
does.
to switch it.
Yeah, we always have a couple of in reserves just in case, and especially for those kind of things, because it happens. I mean, personalities clash. Yeah,
Absolutely.
There's nothing you can do about that.
I mean, if you have a really kind of shy guy and you have a little more introverted matchmaker, that's probably not a good mix, right?
No, that's why we try to match up the veteran matchmakers with the guys who are there the first time.
Absolutely. Okay.
You can't have first time. It's like the blind leading the blind around there.
Yes. Yeah. It doesn't work well. All right.
What was the dollar? Is that
Let me see. On your September Kiev Kharkov tour, will you use a bus or a train to travel between the cities or train? What is it like? Open coach or separate berths? Do you carry luggage or check it? Similar to airlines, I'm concerned taking your tour number 6 with Joe. Tour number 6 with Joe. Who is this? This is David.
David. Wow.
You remember David?
Yes, I remember David.
Well, then you answer this question for David.
Well, between those two cities, it's hard. As much as I would love to take the train, because it's so much faster. I think more comfortable, but it's not knowing who we're gonna have.
That's one of the problems with the train.
Yes.
Another problem is it's a very early that you have to
It's
get
early.
everybody up.
You gotta get up early. It's like a 7 o'clock train.
And if you're a little late, then you missed the train.
you miss the train.
Whereas with the bus, and believe me, there's always one or two guys that are always a little late. David, you know that too, probably from being on the tours. It's like,
There's always that one.
what?
David,
I didn't know we were
that's
leaving.
right.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's you, David, but we do have guys that we have to drag out of bed at the last moment. Like, okay, you knew this was happening. It was in the agenda. We told you to be ready at 6 in the morning, and you're still sleeping. So the bus gives us a little more latitude when it comes to that kind of stuff, and so we will probably take the bus in between the two cities. But if we did take the train, and actually we did do the train on the one I did in February, and that was between Odessa and Kiev, Odessa. And it was great, David. I mean, the train, I love traveling on it. It was an overnight train on the way there. And
I
then
think that's the only way to get there, though. I mean,
no, yeah, that with that
because
one.
of the roads and
Right.
that's a long haul.
I agree. And the train, because it was overnight. But it was fun because in the train station on the way there, don't tell anyone, okay, it's just between us. I did pick up a bottle of vodka, and it was, but it was kind of fun because all the guys.
Train station couldn't have been that good.
It was good.
Was it?
It was really good. Yes. Don't start trying to,
Okay, I'm just
say
saying,
negative things about that. We had a little fun on that train ride down there. I mean, we had people 3, 4 in the morning still talking and having fun. Because it's fun. You get to know everybody. It wasn't like crazy, but it was fun. But you just bring your bags on and you put it in the berth with you, and it's 2 guys to a berth, and it's really, really cool. That's with a 4-person berth, but we only put 2 in. And yeah, works well. So David, if you want to do something like that, that's fun. Hold on a second, let me get back. You had another question about that, I think. Where was that? Okay, no, that was it. Any other questions, David, feel free to call in. Happy to talk to you about it. Joe, what's the exchange rate for the dollar in Ukraine right now?
I saw it get down as low as 26.4. It started at about 26.7, 26.75, somewhere around there. It did go a little bit higher, but it didn't stay there long. It started to drop pretty good.
Yeah, when I was there in February, it was about 27.8, something like that. So it's starting to come down a little bit.
Yeah, which is good for the country.
Yeah.
Well, they have a new president who was just voted in by 73% of the vote, by the way.
Yeah, and he actually played the Ukrainian president on TV.
Yeah,
that he got there by mistake.
He's a comedian.
He's a comedian. Now he's the president. But people, well, we won't get into our politics. But yeah, it's very interesting because we've had Ronald Reagan was an actor that moved into it. So, all right, keep going here. Sometimes I get an intro letter with a wonderful message, but the profile of the woman is then removed with warning. Please explain the sudden change from a positive message to the profile suddenly be removed. So, it's definitely possible that a woman's going to remove her profile after you get an intro letter. Intro letters go out, and you may get it, and then that very day or very shortly after that, that profile is removed because the woman either met someone or something's going on. So I'm not sure what the warning. Usually it says removed by request. So I'm not sure what that warning is, but if you want to call in and talk to me about it, I'm more than happy to talk to you about it, and we can look it up and find out exactly what happened. But remember, those intro letters are also sent out by the staff themselves, working with the woman in concert with her if those parameters are met. So, it could have been that as well. So, all right.
A lot of questions.
Well, we always get a lot. It's great. And this is how this whole thing started. We started doing this kind of form on Monday nights probably now about 20 years ago, because we've been doing this, we've been in business now for about 24 years. And it was with the telephone. We just had this 3-way call where everybody could call in on this kind of group call in. It was way back when, and it was a wonderful way for the guys just to ask questions. And we had other guys chiming in and being able to answer the questions, and I just kind of moderated it. Now this is a little bit different. We don't have quite the interaction between the guys, which I kind of miss. And one of these days I'd like to figure out a way to do that again. Oh, those shows were great when we used to give away. We guys would call in. We get the callers and they'd call in and they had to answer questions and they had to pick a packet and they won a trip. One of these days I'd like to try to get back to that because that was kind of fun. I know it's kind of old school, but I think it's cool. All right. Let's see here. We got a question here from Edward. And he's talking about, first he said, great webcast, thank you. He mentioned that a guy needs to have enough game to cover the age spread. Yes. Please explain in detail what game us guys need to have. If we don't have game for the Kiev ladies, should we cross off Ukraine and instead go to the Philippines? No, it's a very interesting question. And I'm going to let you answer it first, Joe, and then I'll throw some stuff in after that. But you,
Well, I mean, the one thing that, especially Bud and I, we keep on saying time and time again, is you got to be age appropriate. And because I've seen guys who are 40, 50, 60 years old and going after some 20-year-old, you know. To go at, I mean, number one, do you really want to have a 20-year-old wife? I'm saying this because
Tanya watching right now?
I
Depends
have-
if Tanya's watching right now or not. I'm going to get a message on her any minute from Tanya. No, you know. Okay, go
I
ahead.
have 4 daughters.
Yes.
They're adults, okay? But a lot, they're not watching, thank God. A lot of times I can't be in the same room with them. Just the way they think, the way they talk, you know. I couldn't imagine being married to that.
Right.
You know, to
Well,
that sort of
okay.
mentality. That's, I mean, you still have to talk. It's great to have something that looks that good on your arm. You know, I mean,
Still have to
this
talk.
beautiful young woman, but you still have to be able to talk to her and have something in common.
Okay.
And, you know, and when we talk about game, we don't talk about, you know, being a player or anything like that.
No, of course not.
We're talking about, you know, do you have enough, I guess, social skills, that's a good way to put it, to actually converse with someone that young? Ask yourself that. I mean, do you really have enough skill to sit down with someone that young and convince her that you're for real and that you two would make a good match?
Okay. All right. I like that. I agree with some of that, and I don't agree with some of that. So let's just, which
right,
is
and
fine.
that's fine.
So let's talk a little bit about that. So, as far as the age difference goes, I normally say once you start getting much over a 20-year age difference,
Yes,
you have to be a little bit
exactly.
more careful about everyone's agenda that's involved. But having said that, I've seen some marriages where we've had 25, 30 plus year age differences, and they've been married for years, and they get along fantastic and do very well.
And I think that depends on the people, too.
Absolutely depends on the people. And I've seen others where there's maybe a 5-year age difference and it goes down in flames. So it's not always about age. And I do believe there are differences in the way that people mature, their maturity levels at certain ages. And when you go to some place like the Ukraine where you just were, younger women tend to act a little more mature than what you see here because of the way that we were brought up here. Would you agree to that?
I would agree to
No,
that.
they're
yes.
still younger, and if you
They're
have
still young.
a 19 or 20-year-old, they haven't had a chance yet to really see what's out there, really see what life is like. So if you're, 40 or 50, you're going after a 20-year-old.